Today on FilmRiot, we're taking a look at how we made our action scene foot chase. Welcome to FilmRiot, the show that takes mystery out of the effects and techniques going some of your favorite Hollywood films. I'm your host, Ryan Connolly, and recently we teamed up with DJI to create a few action scenes with behind-the-scenes episodes to go along with them for their channel. So I flew out to Vancouver to shoot with some insanely talented people out there to make the project happen. You can see the first of those full episodes on DJI's channel right here. It has a lot of stuff that you're not going to see on our channel. But today we're taking a look at the first of those 5 scenes, and we're going to be posting a new one each week. You're going to find content for that on our channel here and on DJI's YouTube channel. But now, if you haven't seen the first scene that we just released, before you watch this, make sure you watch the full scene right here or right here, because we're about to spoil a lot. What you see in the final scene is not what I actually wrote at all. I had a totally different script for this scene that never got shot. Since we're trying to do a lot with very little amount of money, I needed to stay flexible, which meant adjusting for what we could actually get. So on the day, once we arrived on the location, I realized that we wouldn't be able to pull off a lot of what I originally wanted due to the location change and some weather issues. Normally we'd be able to move the schedule around, but this was extremely low budget with everyone's time already blocked and unmovable, since a lot of them would be going off to other jobs right after this project. There you go. So our timeline was locked, which meant we had to get this scene done and shot that day. So the first thing that I did was to walk around the location with Trevor, Addie, who was my stunt coordinator on this and is absolutely amazing. We talked about what stunts could be done in place of my original ideas, and then it was just a matter of coming up with an alternative scene that would accomplish all the same goals from my original intention from the script. And this is why I always prepare like crazy for every shoot, but keep in mind that things are going to go wrong, so I make sure to stay flexible and not marry myself to any one idea. Instead of focusing so much on what of the project, I focus on the why. Why are we doing the things that we're doing, which leads to the what that really matters. What emotional effect is this going to have on my audience? Since I prepare in that way, it's much easier to throw out the original ideas and come up with alternative ones that will accomplish the same whys that I originally intended.
I got a gold star. I need a gold star.
So for this scene, since I was sort of making it up as I went along, I decided to shoot in chronological order as much as possible. The opening running through the woods was the only exception here. I decided to save that one for last, since I knew if we ran out of time on the day, I could still cut a scene without that opening. And with that in mind, we started out with the fight scene between Cassandra and Katie. Cassandra and Katie are both excellent stunt women and actors. Katie actually played Kitty Pryde in X-Men 2, which I did geek out about just a little bit. But shooting this fight was pretty straightforward using triangle coverage. The complicated moment came from the stunt, which was also mixed with some VFX. To pull this off, we grabbed 4 shots. First was a closer side angle of Cassandra acting out the kick on Katie, then a clean plate, and finally the last 2 shots were lockdown wide shots, both from the same angle. First was Katie doing her fall off the ledge on the mats below, and then without cutting the camera or even touching it, with everyone rushing in, we moved out the mats, and then Katie positioned herself where she would logically land if there were no mats, and then acted out the final impact by throwing herself up as far as she could and landing on the ground.
Great. How's your body?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like I got hit by the ground.
Once I had all that, I took the 2 wide shots into After Effects, put the clean plate on the bottom, and above that, I cut from the 1 shot with the mats right before she hits to the one of her throwing herself on the ground. And I'm leaving a few frames in between these 2 because I'll have to bridge them. To do that, I'm going to duplicate the matte layer, freeze frame, then trim it to just a few frames and mask around Katie. Next, I'll keyframe the position and rotation points to move between the 2 shots and connect the motion. And then of course, turn on motion blur. Then to the shot of her hitting the ground, I'll add some speed ramping to make the impact happen faster, to make it more correct from the height it came from, and feel more violent. After that, I'm going to pre-comp all of this, scale up the comp, and then keyframe the position points to pan and tilt with her as she falls to the ground. And of course, we're going to turn on motion blur. After that, we're going to move over to Premiere. And inside Premiere, we're going to drop in our kick shot and then tie that in with our VFX shot. And I also threw on a camera shake preset that I got from Rampant Design. These are some of the most realistic that I've ever used, and it's much better than just doing it myself in After Effects. But after that, I add my sound effects, and we have this. Now we take a quick break and then get into the rest of the scene. If you're a budding filmmaker, entrepreneur, or innovator, domain.com is the place to go when that next idea hits you. And I know you've heard me say it before that the list of available domain extensions is growing, but you now have the opportunity to name your site and build your brand in ways that was never before possible. Choose from a growing list of 400 plus domain extensions like .com, .org, .design, and .club. And to show you some love, they're giving you 25% off their already affordable prices when you get domain names, email, and web hosting. Just use the coupon code FilmRiot at domain.com's checkout. And when you think domain names, think domain.com.
5, take 2, mark.
Action.
After we finished off all the Katie stuff, Irma shows up, which is our third totally badass stunt woman. A short chase happens, and then they end up on the roof for our final fight, which we really lucked out with this epic background. And again, all of this was pretty straightforward with mostly triangle coverage and some specials thrown in using the DJI Phantom, like this shot and this shot. But we talk about all that in our other episode on DJI's channel. There are a few small tricks here though, like extending a foot or an arm whenever the hit doesn't land perfectly, like in this shot here. Here's what the shot looks like now, going frame by frame, but if I shut off these layers, we see that the original looked like this, which in motion felt like the hit wasn't really landing. So I erased her foot from the shot, then duplicated the original shot, masked around her leg, and then moved it to be right over Cassandra's face. So now we have this. And the last invisible trick was slight sky replacement. In a few of the shots, the sky was this gross, fully blown out white, like in this shot here. Originally, the shot is a little bit lessened because of how gross the sky is blowing out. So I'll grab a sky image and place it in very subtly to keep the image from feeling amateur. For more of a detailed tutorial on how we did the sky replacement, check out our videos on our FilmRiot Extras channel right here. The last thing we shot on the day was the opening running scene, which we got by having my DP, Josh Knepper, run full speed through the woods along with our actresses. Those shots, along with everything else, was possible on such a low budget because we were using something like the DJI Osmo. Full disclosure, this is, of course, a project that we were partnered with DJI to make, and they did give us money to help us make the scenes, but I'm not getting paid to say this. I just really mean it. The Osmo is freaking insane. I love this thing. How fast we were able to move while still getting the quality of movement that I wanted was just nuts. There definitely are some things that you need to work around, like the difficulty of pulling focus with it, which I'm sure are things that are going to get refined in newer versions, but overall, I was really blown away by this setup. But that's it, our first action scene of the bunch, which was made possible thanks to DJI, which again, you can check out the main episodes on their channel right here. And of course, our amazing crew, which there are too many to mention, so please take a look at the notes below to see all of the awesome people involved here. But mostly, we could not have done this without Josh Knepper and Trevor Addie. Those two were incredible, which you can find them and their social media links in the notes below. Also, if you're looking for some fight sound effects like the ones we used in the scene, check out our fight sound effects pack on our Triune store. These were the sound effects that we used for all of our scenes. But that's it, and I'll see you guys next week with our second action scene, which may or may not involve cars.